Disclaimer. The following script has been written before the release of Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 67. Now, this will come out after that chapter's been released, so things could change about Ultra Instinct, but we really doubt that. There's going to be too much excitement about the new arc coming our way. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Oh, Ultra Instinct. You were so close. You see, back in the day, when Dragon Ball Super episodes 109 and 110 came about, we were so hopeful that the fruits of Goku's training with Whis finally saw the light of day. It wasn't all just a bunch of hooey. We finally could see a design which was pretty great, and continuing the trend of Toriyama keeping a more minimalist aesthetic with Super Saiyan God, which is what he likes to do nowadays. They all tend to be little sleek boys. Unlike previous forms which got more and more complicated and a bit silly. It was a new dawn, and also it was a power that other people could in theory possess. It wasn't Saiyan exclusive. Big plus there. Now, granted, you may call us naive for thinking that this time would be different, that this form would break the mold and herald in change for Dragon Ball. That's okay, you have every right to do so. We sincerely hoped that Ultra Instinct wouldn't follow the trend of just becoming another Goku form. We had good cause to think that way when Goku just happened to fall into a black hole caused by the Genki Dama. Somehow. That was a weird power-up mechanism, but hey, it's better than with Super Saiyan Blue and it just happening. Needless to say, Ultra Instinct, now just UI Sign or Omen, had everything. Lack of exclusivity for the Saiyans, very specific conditions in which Goku could utilize this form, you couldn't just turn it on, and a pretty unique way of looking at transformations, which affected a specific trait, movement, not just simple brute strength. It was a speedy boy based on defense, and not just an all-round ground pounder. In short, Goku here was min-maxing, something you don't often see in Dragon Ball. You only really see it in high profile twice before. Super Saiyan Grade 3 with Trunks, and Super Saiyan 3 with Goku. Note to self, it's best with a transformation to leave out the number 3, it just doesn't bode well. But alas, as we saw in chapter 64 to 65, Goku can now access it at will. Kinda makes it intrinsically less special, doesn't it? Granted, he needs to have enough power to do this, but being able to consciously fall into mastered UI of all things, it sort of negates the whole purpose of the form. It's now just an additional power for when going golden, red, blue, or in fact Technicolor power isn't enough. You want to get all noir. Now on a personal note, I don't like the silver look for Goku. It's a little flashy. For me, the sign look is way more intimidating, and since we saw that first and how dominating it was in its first impression, it left a bigger mark for the fandom for the short time it was on screen. The reason that we, and I, think you might be a little bit sore about the decline of its importance and mystique is that it was supposed to be the bunny that Goku could never quite catch, the form that got away, as it were. Something that would elude him just a bit, enough to push him forward for the duration of Super. Not impossible to attain, you could get it eventually, but it's not readily available like, oh, just getting up and getting a glass of water or something. Something that would, quite frankly, become his new obsession and motivation, instead of the tried and tested method of fighting strong guys just because. Yes, that's part of his original MO, but it could do with a refresh after 30 years, yeah? As of now, Ultra Instinct is sort of just here, ready and waiting, until it too will be replaced by a new thing. And what thing exactly will it be? We don't really know. Might we see Goku get Super Saiyan Blue Evolution sometime soon, thereby making Vegeta's unique power even more trivial? Hey, so long as the post-processing is lower than in episode 126, I don't care. Seriously, you could barely see Vegeta with the amount of post-processing on it. It's like when the HD craze started, and Flash had the bloom and blur feature. It was de rigueur in terms of adding atmosphere and post. It got really crazy though. And trust us, Mastered Ultra Instinct will definitely be in the next arc, without the toing and froing of whether Goku can tap into it or not. He's going to use it. Once Goku has trivialized the use of Mastered Ultra Instinct, like with Super Saiyan in the Cell games lead up, it's now going to be replaced of course by a new thing, the hot potato, which will in turn sell new merch. And now I just can't stop thinking of an... oh, Barbody. Such is the way of Dragon Ball form, sadly. You know, the hot Goku merch won't sell itself right. Like, Goku is some vague peripheral character that nobody knows about, that needs to be kept in the limelight with merch. Less popular even than Cardinal Moochie Moochie. I mean, somebody needs a form about that. By the way, if you're a little bit confused about who Cardinal Moochie Moochie is, check out the video up top about some of the strangest Dragon Ball merch I've ever seen. But what makes us even more bitter about this is that the original idea behind the form is quite enjoyable. Now having Goku being the only mortal character to master it, before giving it to anyone else, makes it feel like it's going to fall into obscurity. If Goku moves on to something else and nobody else uses it, then it's going to be left forgotten. And that's a shame, because Ultra Instinct had an impact in the Super anime. It wasn't some vague little interlude or anything, it left a big impression. And yes, the same dreaded fate pulled Super Saiyan down back in the day, but at least it was accessed by more than one character, and could thusly permutate into different use cases with other personalities. Vegeta Super Saiyan acts differently from Goku in Super Saiyan. The power was utilized in various ways, making it interesting, depending on the user. It made Super Saiyan curious, for a while, until it became a meme. The bargain sale was indeed overwhelming, of course, but at least we can see more characters playing with it, playing with the big boys, for a while. So, okay, instead of whinging about this for another 10 minutes, we at the MasakoX channel like to offer some solutions and suggestions to the situation. It's a good life lesson, actually, something my wife taught me. Don't just lament about something all the time, offer up some ideas to make it better. For example, what do we want and what do we wish to do with Ultra Instinct now? Why do we ask this? Well, you see, when Goku has defeated a proper planet killer, and that's a pretty notorious baddie, that's quite a big deal, and is now able to access this power with much less effort than before, and be conscious for it, while fully rested, is it a completely lost cause that a new power will come along in the next arc? You know, is it the inevitable? Not necessarily. While we don't want a bargain sale to occur, it would be very beneficial to give it to someone else, to an underdog. Ideally, we would make that underdog someone like Krillin, somebody who just before the tournament underwent a lot of soul searching, as well as a lot of cappuccino metaphors, and regained his desire to train and show what he can do. There is logic in what we say, but if the brains behind Dragon Ball don't consider him marketable, profitable, or down with the fellow kids, yet somehow they do with the 40-something-year-old Goku and Vegeta, I guess that they can maybe give it to someone that is popular, knowingly so, with both the major audiences and the authors. I guess, because it's Toyotaro, they're going to give it to Roshi. Hey, it would make that shot in the super manga with Jiren make a little bit more sense. Unfortunately. I know how controversial this sounds to many, but believe us, we don't want to see this happen either, as it's not the point of Dragon Ball. But we also know that Roshi has a very special place in Toyotaro's heart, almost as much as with Gohan, because all the time in the Moro Saga, where Gohan doesn't really do anything, but he just is there saying something, it's because Toyotaro likes Gohan. That's why he's wearing the Piccolo gi and not Goku's gi. He remembers the previous times. He is very, very much a Gohan stan. Just look to Dragon Ball AF2 for how many times Toyotaro lords up the master, with Roshi, and gives him a little too much relative screen time given the timeline. We also know that he recently has returned to his ways, eschewing his development from the tournament to Power Arc with Poir. And while taking certain aspects of Roshi could take away some of his personality, maybe you could tone Ultra Instinct Roshi down to be slightly dodgy, instead of outright creepy. The former just doesn't work anymore these days. However, if he does take his mind off certain lemon grovey things, he might find it easier to focus and better himself even further. And if there is a human character who could realistically reach Ultra Instinct, it would be, logically, Earth's oldest martial artist. But it requires a total tonal shift for this to work, for his persona, in order to viably deserve it. So, if you think even more about it, Roshi obtaining it can give him an ability of passing something on to next generations. Not exactly an Ultra Instinct bargain sale, but it's something. He could teach certain bits of Ultra Instinct to one more generation, and they too could pay it forward. If you want to retire some of the OG Dragon Ball crew from fighting in the front lines, fine, but at least give them a proper send-off, you know, and allow the next generation to do something. Another candidate is perhaps Piccolo, who I think could benefit very well from this narrative treatment. He can actually benefit from a lot of narrative treatments, seeing how focused and meditative he is. He may have lost out on getting Kaioken back in the day whilst on King Kai's planet, but this actually might be an even better opportunity to remain relevant with a method that is now part of the lore. Also, he's fused with Kami, and Kami most likely has some kind of god key. It's a different sort of god key though, but enough to make Piccolo maybe sensitive to it in general. In the last chapter, Dende's comment had pretty much cemented the fact that he too has it, and so for Kami and Piccolo would have it. It might be something imbued into the guardians of planets like Earth, and so therefore Kamikolo would have it too, or at least the means to build upon it quickly. It's not much, but being receptive to God Key doesn't outright make you a god-level fighter overnight, but still, it's a solid basis to expand upon, and Piccolo could actually be around to utilize it well. He could live for hundreds of years, training in his prime. Who knows how far he could take this power long after Goku and Vegeta go to the other world for good. However, the sad thing about Piccolo is that for Goku and Vegeta, he's that friend who is stronger than every other friend that they have, save for Gohan when the bang is down, but he isn't quite there to challenge the main opponents consistently, and thusly ends up being beaten in the process, just missing out on fighting the top tier fighters and is then relegated to tier 2 or lower. Piccolo is usually the main character who toys with the misfit minions before Goku shows up, and then Piccolo gets beaten by the main guy. The Universe 6 tournament and Moro arc are also some other good examples of this trope, but Piccolo is capable of getting stronger, and it doesn't break the law. It's not the end of the road for him yet. There are ways to get him to the point of using Ultra Instinct, and adding a non-Saiyan character to the top tier would add a good dose of healthier dynamics to the table, and, you know, less Saiyans the better. Give our favourite Big Green a character arc, something he hasn't had really in years. Once again, if they do go past End of Z and Super, another logical candidate seems to be Oob. No biggie, phenomenal God Key potential, Goku's protege, already established in the Z lore. He is a very good choice. And while he is kind of cheating, he's still technically human, so hey, it's not a Saiyan. It counts. I'm still so pleased that Chapter 66 made the End of Z make even more sense. Goku's reason to fight this kid is not just because it's to repay a debt from a few years back. It all fits. If any Saiyan or part Saiyan could get it, we would probably say Pan should get a look in as well, due to her amazing potential as an infant already, and her outliving her grandfather's legacy, feeling like realistically the right thing to do. In theory, Pan would be a good candidate, alongside a slightly older mentor in Oob, to help refine it a little bit, to lead the next generation after Goten and Trunks retire or move on. I know this may come as a surprise to you guys, that we preach giving UI to more people, but when it became more accessible and by proxy less relevant in the long run, sadly, there is no reason to keep it under that glass ceiling of Goku's, only having him use it, since it can be accessed by non-Saiyans in time. There's nothing saying otherwise. We haven't had an opportunity like this since the Cell Saga, and some people may argue that it ended even further back with Guru unlocking Krillin's potential, as King Kai didn't really teach the Dragon Team anything. Same thing with Goku. He isn't one to share with his friends spontaneously. And we feel that Shueisha and Toei want to market the characters with cool, relevant transformations and abilities. But the thing is that almost every other character can be marketable if you give them something cool. Like with Frieza, just randomly give him some kind of earth weapon. That's cool. We're not asking them to overthrow Goku from the top spot as main characters in this instance, but at least get some of the characters closer to him. Will it cause power creep? Undeniably, yes. It's all swings and roundabouts, it's inevitable. Will it be an issue? Well, of course. Goku's stans will deem it unfair advantage for others. But you know what the best way is to deal with the problematic power creeps? Actually address it in the show. Actually use it, and add some consequences. If the characters are self-aware of the power creep, it can easily relieve some of its inherent concerns. The overuse of Ultra Instinct may be the new Shadow Dragons, but even better. You can literally make Goku lose control over his body, making him react on pure instinct, no longer be able to differentiate friend or foe. That's what I thought was going to happen in the Moro arc. You could make divine beings worried of mortals, being able to tap into this godly power in growing numbers. You can give us a rematch against Beerus. There are so many things that you can do. Just do something with it before, inevitably, it's going to be replaced with a new form. We're going to be guessing orange hair this time. Wink, wink. So what do you folks think? Do you feel that there is life in Ultra Instinct yet? Who do you think deserves the power? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!